All right, KUVO Jazz joining me in the studio today, a Denver native, Risë Jones, owner of the TeaLee's Teahouse and Bookstore. She always wanted to create something in the neighborhood where she was raised. Located in the heart of Denver's historic Five Points neighborhood, TeaLee's Teahouse, let's just say they moved to the rhythm of tea. It's becoming a gathering place for locals wanting to wanting to preserve Denver's rich Black history and customs, a place to have a conversation and engagement while enjoying their relaxing Afro-centric atmosphere, complete with a bookstore. Now, on the last Saturday of the month, Brother Shabazz reads to the children and does Tai Chi from 10 a.m. till 11. Good morning, Risë. I appreciate you for taking time to join me on KUVO's Community Connection.
Good morning. It's my pleasure.
All right. Well, what was your inspiration to bring TeaLee's Teahouse and Bookstore to life?
You captured it in the beginning. I am a Denver native, a graduate of Manual High School, a part of the Thunderbolt Nation. And also, I think it's when I look back, it's just those that have gone before me. The Teahouse came about because my husband asked me the question after recovering from a leukemia bone transplant. Now, what do you really want to do with your life?
Wow.
So after being off for 2 years, I always say I answered the question very indirectly by saying a tea house. But when you have time to think back, I think the inspiration really, one was my grandmother. TeaLee's is named after my grandmother. Her nickname is TeaLee. Her name was Evelyn Jones.
Oh, wow.
And I always thought of my grandmother's home as being a place of good food, good conversation, and wisdom.
Yes.
The other inspiration, I think, is it's family and community supporters who have kept us going this entire time. To have a business, like you said, in the place where I grew up, and to build an institution in the community, meaning a place where we could hire people in the community, and also sustained growth so that we could be there for a time. And small business is worthy. It's hard work. It's described as the engine of American business, but you are always fighting not to be gobbled up and not to be one of the statistics of attrition, I think especially in the last 3 years. But then when I think the impact of having a tea house as well is very much cultural when you think about food in America.
True.
And the impact that we've had from being brought here in bondage from Africa. I think of Dr. Jessica's, the series High on the Hog, featuring Dr. Jessica. And Adrian Miller, food scholar Adrian Miller, is on the 3rd episodes. The foods that we brought from Africa, specifically, I always think yams. That's why that series is so great. And the influence that we've had as chefs. Adrian did the book, The Chefs of the White House. Various foods that we've brought. We've always been the chefs, the cooks, and the servers. And I also thought of the places. I'm by far not the first tea house in the city owned by a person of color. So I always think I'm not the first. So you get inspired also by those people who have gone before you.
True that. That's an incredible story. Absolutely wonderful. Now, I read in a trend report on Pinterest that afternoon tea is growing in popularity. Now, people are searching for afternoon tea party ideas. That is up 165%. What are your thoughts on that?
That's phenomenal. Hey, when it's the business that you're in, that's what you want to hear.
Exactly.
Because it does feel like a niche. So tea is actually the second most drank beverage in the world. It's second to water.
Wow.
But we live in America, so coffee rules.
Okay.
That's people's morning energy. But tea is it's big business, so that is actually a great statistic to hear.
All right. Well, many people don't understand the difference between high tea, low tea, and afternoon tea. Can you give us an explanation?
I sure can. And at TeaLee's, we do both. But
Okay.
I'll talk about that second. So, high tea is usually thought of as late afternoon and also a replacement for dinner, so to speak, because you have a meal, some bread and butter. You can have a side of vegetables and mashed potatoes. I know that's not how people traditionally think of tea, but it's the time difference of high tea being late afternoon, early evening, like you'd have dinner, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, 6
Right.
o'clock. Afternoon tea, oftentimes people think in Denver of the Brown Palace because you go
True.
to the Brown Palace or the Broadmoor in Colorado Springs. Also has a reputation for afternoon tea. And you sit in a more comfortable setting. You sit low, like in the Brown Palace, you might sit on a couch. You're around a table, and the tea tray is brought to you that way. And it's thought of as being more comfortable, kind of more hoity-toity. Sometimes people, they dress up. You usually are with a group of people that you enjoy being with, and it's a social event.
True.
And it's the tea tray that's fascinating. So you have your pastries and your sweets. You usually have sandwiches, traditional sandwiches like your egg sandwiches, and cucumber sandwiches are on the afternoon tea. So fancy pastries and petite tea sandwiches. At TeaLee's, and I have to give Y credit for this. When Y was in Belmar, and she was in Belmar, which is the old Villa Italia,
Right.
she had a beautiful tea house that actually served breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And she had a tea room off to the side. And in that room, she probably had 26 different teas that were displayed in clear bulk containers.
Wow.
So it's like being in a wine store,
Okay.
and you're overwhelmed by your choices and varieties. And so she had them in a way where you lined up and you're looking at the choice and variety around teas. So I remember that, that experience at Wise. And then the other piece I think that Y gave me was to modernize tea and make tea for everybody. So when we do tea at TeaLee's, you can come as a red hat lady.
Okay.
On Mother's Day. I have a friend, Miss Lisa, who brought 30 women on a Sunday directly after church. So they're all beautifully dressed. They're up and down. The elders are upstairs. And then you've got 20 more women down, and they come for Mother's Day.
Wow, that's
And
beautiful.
that's at noon. So for us, the time doesn't matter. And also how you come doesn't matter. If you come in jeans, we're going to serve you. If you come casually dressed like we are today, we're going to serve you. And it doesn't matter what time you want, high or afternoon tea.
Okay.
And again, in our community, because we have been the servers and the chefs, there are Black women all over the country who have tea shops. When you're in the business, you begin to meet other people who are in the business.
Right.
And it's not so rare. We've always known how to serve people, and we've always known how to cook for people.
Okay. Well, that's an incredible story. Now, what type of books do you have at the bookstore?
So TeaLee's was conceived by myself and my husband, Louis Freeman. So when we were opening up the Teahouse, the combination of teas and books were natural, because he helped to conceive and co-found the Human Experience Bookstore. So the books that we have fall in a niche. And it happened spontaneously. In getting open, we came to the Teahouse one day prior to opening, and somebody had just, I don't want to use, had placed a large amount of books on our patio area. So we took the books, categorized them downstairs, put them on the bookshelves, and what it started was a niche of not just new books, but books that have come out. I'd say there's a lot of the 70s, 80s, books in the 90s, significant African American history fiction, nonfiction, and even rare finds. And that's part of how we got started, in addition to now we'll do local authors, as well as we've done events. Where last April we celebrated Chef Edna Lewis. She was born in Freetown in Virginia. She is the mother of Farm to Table.
Wow.
And at that event, we had her 30th edition cookbook, as well as it just so happened there was a release of a children's book about Edna Lewis. And we were able to have the illustrator who came from Chicago. She provided the book before it was actually published. So now we have a selection of both new and used books. And in the coming months, we hope to add to that new selection of books that we have. But it's a niche.
That's wonderful that
It's
you
a
can have
niche of
so
books.
many, such a big variety of books in the bookstore now. I love the fact that your Teahouse is open to giving the community a space to have a variety of events.
Yes.
And that is just incredible, because most people are running around trying to figure out where to have something or where. And thank goodness for the TeaLee's Teahouse and Bookstore to be able to do that. I want to thank you for taking a moment from the Teahouse to join us here on KUVO Community Connection. It's a Colorado where everyone feels seen and heard.
Yes, thank you.